They can't hear it.
They can't hear it. Oh, well.
You guys can't hear our music?
Well, we're so techno savvy around
I know, like we just thought if we played it, you'd hear it.
We thought you'd have fun
We
with
could go to
it.
our Facebook. We could go to our Facebook and put it on. Is it
That's
the
right, Kristen.
Let me just tell
Yeah,
you,
get it out, man.
it's a great song. If you're not listening to Try Everything on a regular Shakira, I would recommend you do it. As a matter of fact, honestly, it's a pretty good movie, as Utopia is, but it's been a while since I've seen it, but it's really wonderful. It's great music. It's like inspiring. Anyway, so welcome to Elevation Call tonight. Tonight we're going to teach you all about technology. Just kidding, we're not. Actually, tonight we're going to talk about leadership, and so we've got some things coming up after a while that really we're honestly very happy about, honored, and excited to talk about on the second half of our call. But the first half of our call tonight, we're going to talk about leadership, and so. Lisa, why don't you want to start with your story about leadership in your life? So in the end, what we hope happens in the next 20 minutes or so, at the end of the call, what we hope happens for you is that you recognize for yourself the type of leaders that you have appreciated and learned from, and the things that you've learned, what their style has been, and maybe styles that you think might work better for yourself that you can attach to. But mainly, I really wanted to turn to you. What kind of leader are you? And where do you need to maybe develop more skills and understanding about what leadership is in today's world? So Lisa, why don't you take the lead?
Yeah, well, one of the things I wanted to bring up is just one of the blessings and benefits of, for me, what the direct selling industry has brought into my life is the ability to fill in gaps that I really had needed to develop some skill sets. And I grew up as the youngest child. Many of you guys have heard kind of my birth order story. I have an older sister who's a force of nature. My mom was a force of nature. And so I could just kind of sit back and observe people. I was timid, I was cautious. And it really wasn't until I grew up and my tendency, my personality is to kind of stay in the lines, to kind of be really compliant. I don't know if you know anybody like that or if you yourself are like that. But I became a nurse because I kind of followed a family tradition. And again, I just kind of followed that career path until it just didn't work for me anymore. And then I went back, I actually repositioned, I got an advanced degree and I followed that career path. And then I transitioned into pharmaceuticals and followed a job until I became a mom. And that's really when I wanted to reclaim my life, my lifestyle. And I didn't really have the skill sets to do anything outside of employment. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm really super grateful for the direct selling industry and just leadership, because what I didn't really understand was leadership is the art of influencing a group of people and helping them to create an alignment toward a specific mission. And looking back over the last, oh my goodness, I guess 13 plus 6, like almost 20 years, in direct selling now, for me, as Elise has just been a part of that, it's really been the most powerful study in leadership. And so today, I wanted Hal to kind of go over a little bit more about types and styles of leadership. And then we're going to ask for your input on a few things.
Yeah, so we're going to take a few minutes, and I want this to be participation here in the beginning. And I just want to put this out first. Number one, Lisa and I very, very much appreciate all of you in the leadership that you provide in your own home, on your team of people, even back to us. And we appreciate that. And I hope that we express that to you. At the same time, so many of you always are expressing to us your appreciation of our leadership, which we say thank you to that. The next few minutes is not about us, okay? So please refrain from, doing what you guys always do, which is make us feel really good. So let's kind of get down to, beyond that for the next few minutes. And we need your help, and we need to move fast. So give me some input here on leadership. How do you, what do you look for in a good leader? So a person that can lead you toward a purpose and a mission successfully. throw out some of those things so that other people can hear. Just blurt it out, unmute yourself, and
Availability.
honesty, availability,
Listens to
listens.
you.
Okay.
Lead by
Loving is
example.
where-
Example, leads by example.
Loving where we are, but showing a better way.
Okay. Loving where, accepting you, loving you where you are, but showing a better way. Okay. What else? Anybody else?
Allowing someone to step up and take leadership roles and be available, but not be overbearing, keeping your thumb and, just let me do it for you.
Okay, good. Thanks, Michael. Anybody else? Quick comments? Okay, all right. So, I've been, so I'm going to share some things tonight on styles of leadership, and then we're going to talk about skill development. So we only have a few minutes, so we're just going to kind of hit this at a high level to start with. But, we asked the question, who are your leaders? The way things were, I don't know how far back we have to go, but there was a pretty much ingrained leadership style throughout the world, but in particular in our country, and even many times even in direct selling, or we've encountered these kind of leaders. And it's what I call, and others call, transactional leaders. Let me kind of read a little bit, kind of describe. So leaders were individuals responsible for basically managing and telling people what to do. Often they were celebrated for being stern, appropriately distant, made swift, strong decisions, had the ability to command every situation. As this one article says, with the deftness and authority of a silverback gorilla. And that was a leader, the strongest led, and everybody else lined up behind that leader. Well, what we're seeing, and I think it's not only a need, but it's a transition in the world, that even though there are those types of leaders still in the world, and they're still the ones that we prominently know and predominantly know, but as far as successful and effective leadership, there's been a major shift in the world. And that is to a leadership style that I think is better because it's turning more toward the people that the leaders are leading. And it's becoming much more informal. If you don't believe me, those of you who have smartphones and are on any of these social media things, like everything from Facebook to Instagram to all these different things in the world, whether you realize it or not, those people are informal leaders. They are thought leaders in different ways. And the bigger, here's your test. Look and see what their following is. Now, I'm not just pulling that word following because it says that. These are informal leaders in many ways, and some have become very famous, very impactful, very influential, but they are not telling you what to do. They're basically telling you what they're doing, how they're doing it, and say, follow me or not. And so that's a form of informal leadership. But these individuals are followed in many cases because of their relatability, their empathy, like it's been said tonight, their empathy for where people are. But here's the critical thing. In some way, they are informally empowering other people to become different from where they are. They're empowering people with ideas, with inspiration, with motivation. And so that's what I call a transformational leader. So one of the styles that most businesses and people have dealt with their entire lives, and they'll follow this kind of leader for a while, and that's what's called a transactional leader. And a transactional leader is basically one who is looking to tell us what to do, how to do it, and then basically contract with us in some way. They provide something, we do something, and when those two match, those transactions match, then they're successful and we're successful. In a transactional leadership style, though, what happens is the leader always gets to stay, and the people who can't keep up the pace fall away. In other words, if they can't keep their end of the contract, they never develop and grow. They never achieve anything like what the leader has been doing. or is suggesting that you can do, or the track that they put you on. So now there's another type of leadership that many of you have heard of, especially those of you who come up maybe in a religious family or not, but it's called servant leadership. And we've talked about servant leadership before. And so servant leaders really are very oftentimes empathetic. They're kind, they want to help other people, and really their focus is on other people and serving other people. And that's a good thing. But when it stops at helping other people and not helping those people transform their lives, then it stays at servant leadership. And so between transactional leadership, which is basically telling people what to do, and whether you make it or not doesn't really matter, they'll just replace you, and servant leadership, which is serving people with a kind heart, a generous heart, a caring heart, and service activities that leaves people often right where they are. It never truly leads them, but it just serves them. But a transformational leader really does those things, provides leadership, gives direction, inspires, encourages, motivates, but mostly what a transformational leader does is empowers people to become their greatest and best self. And so that, I believe, is where Lisa and I have been operating and try to operate both inside our businesses and in our lives. So let's go ahead, if you would, and put that definition up there on transformational leadership, just so people maybe can get a screenshot of it. And so here it is. If you want to take a screenshot, I typed it up. Transformational leaders inspire, motivate, and empower change and success in others. They motivate others to achieve performance beyond expectation by transforming attitudes, beliefs, and values. They lead by example with a vision toward a greater mission while empowering individuals to become their greater selves. So I think we all would agree that transactional leadership is not effective. As a matter of fact, it can be pretty harmful in many ways. At the same time, though, servant leadership is where many people are when they are in businesses, especially direct selling industry businesses. They end up kind of getting stuck in just serving other people. And they never move beyond that into really creating a greater mission of empowering not only themselves, but other people to become their greatest and best selves. They want to, they know that's the idea. They know that's what they're supposed to do, but they haven't transitioned into that. They haven't transformed enough themselves. And really where that falls is in the leaders that are ahead of them. It's not their responsibility, but leaders ahead of those who are kind of stuck in that way need to look at themselves and say, what skills do I need to develop to become better at this? So I'm going to turn back to Lisa for just a second, ask you, what skills did you have to develop to become a transformational leader like what you have become, for sure?
I think the most important piece of advice that I had to learn was that you cannot lead looking backward. You can't look back at your team and pull them along. You have to lead looking forward.
Okay.
And so the ability to create a vision and a plan, and you're so committed to that plan that you're going to move forward with or without them. That's probably the biggest challenge for me with leadership. And
Okay.
is that?
Yeah,
okay.
That's good. I mean, that's, what it seems like that's a mindset piece.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as what about, are there any skills like that you would really say this is a skill that I have developed that I didn't have, that you've become really better at? Do you need me to tell you a few? Because I can tell you a
Yeah,
bunch.
why don't you tell them now?
Well, I didn't know you before.
That's very obvious.
Okay, so I didn't know you before, but I think you have tremendous skill in having a task and you understand the task and you stay with it. I mean, you are on the task. I don't mean relentlessly, but I want to say consistently. And that is, I think, in part, it may be your nature, but I also think that you had to develop it. I think also, I think for you in particular, I think the skill of learning different ways in which you present the story of your mission and your purpose. When I will say, I have observed this with you, and I want y'all to hear this, and I'm talking to Lisa, but I want you to hear what I'm saying. When I first met Lisa and we started hanging out together, it was all around the world of Zalise for the most part. And I fell in love with her. And I will tell you that she, at that time, in part, and this was 5 years ago, we're going to be married 4 years here in just a few months. It was almost like every encounter was about Zalise. I mean, almost everything we did was around Zalise. And she had a huge passion for it, but in some ways it was a little too much. It was a little bit too much Zalise and not enough other things. And so one of the things that I think Lisa realized is that she needs to learn to listen to other people before she tells her story. It's such an impactful story. It's changed thousands of lives. She's built huge income with the company. And so, you just kind of keep that ball rolling. Well, what I've noticed over the last few years is that Lisa has really developed the skill of what I call empathetic listening or empathic listening, where you listen to other people. And I'm not saying you didn't listen to them, but you really have developed the skill of that. And so, and I think because of that, you've expanded a lot of things in your life. And so, I'm complimenting you on that because I appreciate it. Now, so anyway, that's a skill that you develop. So one of the things that I think, did you know that you needed to develop that?
No, that was something that I only realized afterwards, that I was a little bit too focused and using my own will instead of listening to other people and kind of where they were and their pain, and my ability to help solve their problem was based on my ability to listen to their problem.
So one more skill, and again, we've already mentioned it, but so even during tough times, I don't know if there's a skill or a passion or a combination of the two, but whatever it is, you've had the skill to maintain a consistency with things like our elevation call, with the broadcasting and to reaching out to people and keeping it open, even during very, very, what I would call difficult times where the direction and the current was not heading in our direction.
Right.
And you've remained true with that. And so, again, that I think is a skill that you've developed, and it's a transformational type of leadership that you just demonstrated. And so anyway,
Thank you for that.
yeah, absolutely. Well, it's factual. So one of the things I want to encourage people tonight to think about is, and to be honest with yourself. So Lisa, did you like hearing that when I brought that to you a couple of years ago? Did you like hearing what I was saying? You
Probably
might
not. Probably not.
Probably not, or not.
Not.
How about even when we talk about it tonight?
It makes me squirm.
It makes you squirm. It does. Okay. So now I'm not trying to get in trouble here in my house tonight. I'm really not trying. And I didn't even tell her that I was going to do that when I thought about, when we talked about our skills. But that's what we're talking about, that people have to embrace things that they're not comfortable with and to develop some skills if you're going to lead. Now, if you want to serve and all you want to do is serve, which is nothing wrong with being a servant leader and being there. But if you truly want to help transform your life and transform other people's lives and be a transformational leader, then you really have to move beyond that, because there's a greater mission to help others truly become their greater selves. So if you're going to help other people become their greater selves, then you or we have to become our greater selves, continually being our greater selves ourselves. And so as transformational leaders, really if we're leading by example and inspiring others, then we ourselves have to be in that mode of transforming ourselves to become that to others. And so that's a big part of why you're on this call tonight. And and so forth. So anyway, that's kind of where are we on time?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, so
transition.
we're going to transition into our Zalise call. Oh, well.
Speaking of
we're gonna
leadership.
put that other. Well, let me put that other slide up
Okay,
real
there
quick.
you go.
I'm not going to talk it, but if you want to take a picture of this, this was taken from more of a business journal that I came across this last week, and I thought it was a good summary and helpful on, styles of transformational leadership. So if you want to take a picture of it, review it, kind of give you some bullet points to kind of think about. Anyway, I'm going to leave this with you. If you want to know more, you're on your own on this. So,
Okay.
All right.
So let me go ahead and stop share here.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Hal. Well, and speaking of leadership is not just influence, but it's also action. And so I wanted to have Hal review the action of the top enrollers for May, because we have some pretty impressive results in the leaderboard.
Man,
ever since
you played that Try Everything song at Line Dance.
Yeah.
Every time we transition or start our deal, I want to play that song.
Well, we're gonna have to do it live.
I know, I don't know, but I'm just saying right now is a good time to play that Try Everything song. Anyway,
It is.
okay. So Zalise leaderboard for the month of May. It's too early in June to be talking when we haven't really got to finish up May as far as our team goes. So we had a great month, guys, as far as a team.
In fact, I think everybody should give themselves a
I want to
big
tell you
round.
that last month
You
for
guys
this group of
kicked it.
people, absolutely. We see the numbers. We see the numbers across the board. And so we want to recognize some people like we always do from our team that ended up the month on the top 25 leaderboard in personal volume as well as enrollment. So at number 19, Kristen Olander, Kristen and Eric down in Georgia. All right. Then at number 13, Lorena and Jean Workmeister, again on the leaderboard. You guys are getting to be pretty familiar with that leaderboard. And then at number 12, Steve and Jenny Todd, of course. At number 5, Hal and Lisa. So yeah, there we go. Number 5, Hal and Lisa. And then the ones who took home all the money this month, I mean, they're taking money right and left from Zalise this month on enrollments in several ways. At number 2, Christina Durham, which is awesome. It's funny because Michael and Amelia Blair ended up at number 1 in all of Zalise. They're brand new ambassadors, and they just they kicked in, but they're following. I will say this is transformational leadership. Truly, what's happening with this group there in Indiana, making a huge, significant. I'm not going to say huge. We're really just getting going, but really proud of you guys. Congratulations.
They're gonna say something on the leadership.
And tomorrow night, by the way, I want all of you to know that I'm actually going to be doing the training tomorrow night with a couple of other people, but we're going to be bringing in Christina and Amelia and Michael and doing a little short interview with them tomorrow night concerning the topic that we're going to do on the team field training. So look for them tomorrow night. I'd encourage y'all to have everyone. I think tomorrow night's training on the Freedom Call, that I know from my part, I wouldn't be doing if I didn't think I had something to say. I don't do that anymore. I don't play that game. And so I think my willingness to put together a presentation for tomorrow night is out of mission and purpose for me. It's a message that I think will help all of Zalise. And it'll give you a better understanding of why we're doing what we're doing, how we're doing it, and kind of a big picture roadmap. So for you, I hope you'll be on the Freedom Call for a lot of reasons. I hope you'll be on there to see Michael, Amelia, Christina, myself, and one other guest that's going to help us out with that. But I think reach out to your team, reach out to some people for the whole call. But hopefully I'll do a decent job in making the presentation for tomorrow night. So anyway, just kind of promoting that. I hope it's not self-promotion, I hope, but
The other thing I wanted just to recognize a couple people that didn't make the leaderboard.
they got bumped off the last
They
day
got bumped
or two.
off
Yeah.
the last day. Hal, who are they?
Judy Baker and her
Judy
sister,
Baker.
Susan Everett. That's right. They were on the leaderboard almost the whole month. And then at the last second, somebody jumped up in
Somebody
there,
jumped up.
bumped them right off. But we know you were there. We know you were there.
And
So,
Mary Jo Perry, who's, riding her horse somewhere in the South tonight, but she also was
yeah.
enrolled. So anybody who's enrolling, who's talking to people, you guys, you may or may not be on the leaderboard, but we recognize your leadership in that process.
Yep. So, all right. And then on volume for the month, we had, is that right?
Aaron Peters.
Is that top name?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it is.
wow. That's for now or that's for this
That was
month?
for May.
That's for May.
That was for the month of May.
Aaron Peters in Indiana at number 23.
Retailer.
Ronnie Nunn.
Ronnie Nunn.
Nunn. Yeah, look at him. He's shocked at number 15. Susan Everett at number 13.
Woo, Susan.
What
Look at her.
number is
She's
that?
like, what?
3 or 8?
3.
Drum roll, please. Number 3 in all of lease on volume. At the end of the month was my mom, 85-year-old Helen Henson, number 3 in all of lease. Look at that. 85-year-old
That's what
mom.
I'm talking
That's my
about.
mom. Good job.
You guys haven't seen her walk with her walking
Yeah, yeah.
poles and her styling.
Yeah,
Like,
they
she
have.
looks
Follow me
amazing.
on Facebook, you do. You've seen her. So anyway, that's our recognition and congratulations. Let's keep it going. I will say Zalise. So what?
I think also, Marcia, you enrolled a few people.
Yes,
and
she did. Why
and,
is she not on the board?
She should have been, but you might have gotten edged off, but we notice it when you're on the
I don't know. I
leaderboard
think
at
you
all.
missed her.
I might have missed
I
her.
think you do that. I'm gonna say.
So, but why we are here tonight, and the reason we asked you guys, I know it's summer and there's a million things going on, but we are so excited to introduce to you a new corporate employee at Zalise who we have recently just fallen in love with. And Luis is from Texas. He has an amazing background and pedigree. Speaking of transformational leadership, this guy is a transformational leader, and he has worked with a lot of the top performers in direct selling. He was introduced to us by Christy Klinger as a personal friend and somebody who has really made a difference in her life. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is this going to be like? Because Luis's title is Director of Sales Development. We have never, ever in all of Zalise had anybody in this role. My background in corporate America, I know what sales development is. We've never had anyone that has fed and breathed into us in the sales area, which is what all of us really are. And so I'm really super excited. Hal, do you want to add anything to that?
No, but I am going to attempt at that which many people in corporate do not attempt. But I'm going to take a run at this, and that is I'm going to actually try to pronounce Luis's last name as Caceres. Did I roll it?
Hey, I love that you tried to roll your R's. I appreciate it.
Okay, so how do you say? How do you say your name?
It's Caceres.
Caceres.
Hey,
Wow,
you
look
got
at
it. There you go. Thank you so much, Lisa and Hal. It is truly an honor to be on this call. I was brought on. This is day number 12 for me in the corporate team. And really, I'm not big on titles, and I know in the industry we have big titles and everybody wears a badge. And one of my favorite trainings is remove your badge. That I've heard 15 years ago, and I still am a true believer in that. Part of my story, is that I started as a distributor with my wife. This was 12 years ago. She was pregnant with my first son, Juju. He's now 12, about to be 13. And we got started in the industry. Somebody invited us and to share the message in that company. And we jumped right in, and we had success. And I know why we had success, because we moved fast. And the reason we moved fast is because my wife was pregnant and we needed to make our money back. So, that kind of helped us learn the industry, learn how our industry works, and then I had the opportunity to launch a country, launch El Salvador, where I'm from. And I didn't share with this with you, Lisa and Hal, but as a distributor, I just took a leap of faith and I went to El Salvador, started sharing with friends and family. The corporate team had told me, hey, we have product. And I started moving packs, and they told me, hey, if you get 50 $1,500 packs moved, we'll have an event, and I did that. I went, I started sharing, got tons of no's in that country, had a few yeses. Well, to make that story short, after 6 months of operating in that country, we found out that the products weren't registered. So I've had success with our industry, and I've also had bruises with our industry. And the reason I tell you that is because I've been where you are. You know, I've been where you are, and I think that's why Christy brought me on, to be a voice for you guys. Really, what I'm gonna be doing with the corporate team is being a bridge to the field, because I know how hard it is to get a no, you know, and how great it is to get a yes after getting many no's, you know, and I would love to share a little bit of who I am. And I have to start by sharing a picture of my family, because you know, this is my why. We now have 4 kids. Juju, as you can see, he's holding the baby. Jovi is my queen. She's gonna turn 8. Joss, he's now 4. And then the baby is now 7 months. So we are still not sleeping here at the Caceres home. But this is my why, you know, and I wanted to share this picture because when we started in the industry, we did have a little bit of success fast because Kaylee was pregnant. But if I'm honest, I didn't believe in what we were doing. You know, I was the typical husband that said, this is for you. I'll support you from afar, but you can go sell vitamins, you know, and to be honest, you know, when I did that, I didn't know I wasn't really supporting my wife. And we hit a few ranks, we got a few checks, and then I heard a training about roles in your business, because I wasn't treating it like a business. I was treating it as, this is Kaylee's business. And even when the big checks were coming in, I was still treating it as, this is hers. And then I learned that every couple, if you're married in this call, you have to sit down and figure out what your role is in your business. For me at the time was sitting at home on Monday nights and Wednesdays when she had presentations and not calling her. You know, she asked me, hey, I'm gonna be meeting, I'm gonna be doing one-on-ones. I would love for you not to text me when I'm coming home. You know, and I said, hey, I can do that. I'll keep the baby those 2 nights. I'll stay with Juju, and I'll change diapers. You know, and we had I felt like I was part of the business at that point. You know, and that helped us have success. And I share that briefly with you guys because, you know, I think it's important as you start and grow your leadership role. I love the topic on leadership, you know, and I think you can lead your spouse well by identifying what your role is. For me, in that time period, was sitting at home and supporting my wife. It was not asking why she was 15 minutes late when she had told me she was going to be home at 10 p.m. Right? It was because then I understood. Then we sat down and said, hey, Luis, every time you ask me why I'm late, it was because I had to train him or because I got to know, you know. So not only was she having to sell, but she was having to sell me every time. So when I understood my role as a husband, we had more success, you know, and that led me to then take on a corporate role in the industry. And I love our industry. I think if you truly care for people in your leadership role, you'll have success. So really what I'm gonna be doing is working with everyone in the field, helping you have success, making it easier for you to have success. You know, I know things are broken, and we had a long conversation with Lisa and how a couple of I think earlier this week, and there's 3 things that I always look at when I come in to a position like the one I'm in is, hey, what's working, and let's keep doing that, you know. And number 2 is what's broken, because there's things that I know that are broken that I can fix. And what the third one that I think is the most important one that's going to be my role is, hey, what can I help protect in Celeste? And I think that's, to me, is the leadership. How can I protect each leader that we have? So I also would love to share with you guys that, you know, you guys have great leaders. If you're on this call and you're listening to Hal and Lisa, you know you have great leadership. And I think we've spent a lot of time this week just identifying what's broken. A lot of the calls we've had is identify what's broken and what's needed. And every conversation I have with them, they're thinking about you. And I'm not just saying that to say it. I truly believe that they care for their team. So just know that every conversation they're having with us is for you, for the better of you. Not one conversation we've had where I've heard them say, hey, what can he do for me? So I wanted to say that, so you're in great hands with them. And my commitment to you is the same commitment I have for my family, is that, hey, I'm gonna do my best to help you have success. With 4 kids, one of the things I tell them all the time with sports, we're very into sports, is if you take a step, I'll take a step, because sometimes with Juju, I'm trying to drill him, hey, you need to play the sport, you need to do jujitsu, you need to do this. And I'm learning, hey, if he takes a step, I take a step. And that's gonna be my commitment to you guys. I'm reading a book right now that, it's funny you guys are talking about leadership. It's how to lead when you're not in charge, right? Because a lot of times we want to lead and we're not in position where we can make an impact. So that's a book that I highly suggest. And just know that you have an ally in me on the corporate side. I'm very hands-on. I don't work your 9 to 5. I work your 5 to 9. And then 11 to 12, and then 4 to 5. So we've had meetings with Howard and Lisa early in the morning and late at night. So I'm not your typical corporate employee. And if you need help with someone, having a 3-way call, I'm available. But again, you have great leaders, Howard and Lisa. If you have a Spanish speaker that you want to present your business to, I'm available. So yeah, I just wanted to jump on and say hi. And yeah, I'll put the name of the book on the chat here in a second. So thanks so much.
So
Hey,
go ahead,
real
Lisa.
quick, Luis,
Yeah.
who is the author of that book? We have a couple questions about it.
So let me see, do I have it here? It's in my backpack. It's a pastor, a local pastor here from Texas,
Okay.
but it's how to lead when you're not in charge.
Okay.
That's the title of the book.
That's interesting. Our topic tonight that we came up with was, about what we would call informal but effective leadership.
Yeah.
And transactional leadership is what we're shifting from, to a large degree, into really recognizing, honoring, and leading with transformational leadership, which is in large part informal with mission purpose. So it's really interesting you're leading that. Or reading that. Did you have any questions or anything that you wanted to ask Luis?
Well, Luis, one of the things that I just thought, you're so, you've got so many skill sets. And we are so grateful to Angie for hiring you. Just honestly, one of the best things that she has done. What are you showing us, Michael? Is that the book?
Yeah, it's blurry.
Oh, you're taking it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it's by Clay Scroggins.
Clay Scroggins.
How to Lead When You're Not in Charge. It's a yellow with a light
Yes.
bulb on it.
Okay,
Great,
thank you very much, Michael, for
You're
that.
welcome.
But Luis, just, the fact that you're there as a resource, I have felt, just for the last couple of years that lights were on and nobody was really home, for us, to have that kind of support. And so we're super excited that you're there with your amazing skill sets and talents. But another thing that I feel like we've not been very effective at is reaching the Latinos in this country, much less, in Latin America. And so I'm very excited. Would you tell us a little bit about what you can do to help facilitate that?
Absolutely. So one of the conversations we had earlier is that, most companies that I've seen is that they get really excited about going to Mexico. They get really excited about going to Colombia. And one of the most recent ones that I was with, and I shared this with Lisa last time, we launched Colombia, or we launched Mexico first. And a lot of people are having success in Mexico. And then we quickly turned around and launched Colombia. But what was happening is that all the leaders in Mexico were having to fly to Colombia. So then Mexico was dying. And then they were having to fly back. And what we have identified with Angie and Christy is that if we get a solid, strong Hispanic leader in the US, it will make it so much easier for our field to have success. Because if you have a leader that can make money here in the US and learn under your leadership, it will be so much easier to duplicate it in Mexico, in Colombia, versus other companies. They do it the opposite way. They want to go find a leader in Mexico. They want to go find a leader in Colombia. But if you think about our US market, we have 50 million Latinos. We're a country, if you want to see it that way. And with a buying power 10 times higher than a Colombian living in Colombia. And now if you can find a Hispanic that's bilingual, that's just an edge that you will have as you launch these countries, because now we have distribution in multiple countries in Latin America. So we're not asking you to say like, hey, Christina, get on a flight and go recruit in Colombia. And now with the pandemic, as much as I hate that the pandemic happened, but who would have thought that in 2023, I was going to get invited at 7:30 p.m. to come meet you guys virtually, right? So if you think about it, we have so many things that you can approach and without having to leave the US. So my goal, if I were to have one, it's keep building your business and think about those people that are bilingual, that you may run into at church, that you may run into at the store, that may be needing a side income like I did in 2011. So if you have someone from a tangible perspective, I'm going to be making we're going to be making a Spanish opportunity video that's going to be short. But outside of that, you can always text me to do a three-way call. You can always text me to jump on Zoom. And so they can see a familiar face and they can identify with someone that speaks their language. So
That's huge.
That's very significant. So at the same time, though, what we want to be clear about, and I even had to make sure that I was clear about it when you came on board, and that is, are we bringing a Latino man in here to build Latin America, or are we just focusing on Latino? No, that's a bonus as far as we're concerned. As we've gotten to know you and who you are and your skill set, your experience, and what your vision is with Zelise, I'm just telling y'all, that's a bonus. That's a side bonus for now to have him available for that. But what I'm most excited about is that your field leaders and your corporate leaders create the culture of the company. And what we have with Luis and Christy, with Shannon, how she's leading now, with Angie, and the leaders that we presently have that are working and that are engaging. And we're, for the first time, I'm just telling y'all that we, Lisa and other leaders like the Todds, for example, have been on a call, I think recently, or a couple of calls with corporate, that the culture of Zelise is changing for the better. And it's a good thing. Now, some of y'all say, well, was it a bad culture? It wasn't a bad culture, but I would say it was in many places an unhealthy culture and a behind the times culture. And so we're catching it up to date, but it doesn't happen overnight. But just the fact that, last week or 2 weeks ago on this call, we had Christy and Shannon on our call. First time ever, 5 years. Never had corporate staff on our call. Is that correct?
Only Stephen.
Only Stephen, of course, yeah. Stephen, yes. And now here, Luis, this week. And so with that, there are good things coming, and mostly a cultural and structural in some ways, practical, lots of things coming out. And so anyway.
And Luis, do you have another minute that we can just open it for any kind of questions, any kind of comments? Because you guys, Luis is exactly as he appears.
Right.
He is just amazingly positive. He's just bright and kind. And
hey, you have to be when you have 4 kids and
long
a
suffering.
7-month-old. Yeah.
Sleep deprived.
All right. So we want to open it up. If any of y'all just have any questions or anything, anybody? We haven't prompted this, so.
Yeah.
When will the video be out?
I'm supposed to be shooting in 2 weeks, so it should be a quick turnaround, 2-3 weeks, have that intro video, but don't wait for the actual Spanish video. If you have someone that's bilingual, I'm happy to jump on a Zoom call with them, because it's
I have
to
somebody.
me, oh, let's jump on a Zoom call with them. Especially if they're bilingual, they can watch the video, in English, and then I can share my testimony in Spanish with them.
Hey,
Right.
Louise, what's
Yeah.
the best way
Yeah.
for people to contact you? Is it okay?
Probably through you,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay.
if yeah, and then that way, because I don't want to disrupt the leadership,
Sure.
Yeah, that's right.
process.
Thank you.
So yeah, but
Awesome.
again, I'm happy to jump on and share my testimony in Spanish with them if you have them. Yeah.
We've never, ever had
Anybody-
that before.
Anybody else have a question? If not, I've got one more question for you.
Just- I just want to comment to
Yes.
Liz, to thank
I
him for
don't-
coming on. Thank
Yeah.
you. And appreciate him coming on and sharing his skill set with us. And we look forward to what he has to offer. So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
Thank you, Steve and
Thanks, Steve.
Jenny.
Cindy, did you have
Absolutely.
something?
I don't have a question, Luis. I just wanted to say welcome to the team and we're glad you're here. This is a position that we've needed for a very long time. And we appreciate that you're
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I'm super excited. I really, Monday, or we met with Angie and Christy Friday all day. And, I love Angie and the things that she has coming your way. And it's so refreshing to me because I've been with owners where ownership makes a decision thinking about ownership. But what I've seen in the 11 days that I've been with the company is that ownership is making decisions for you, and they want to hear from you. And sometimes that's probably a slower process, right? Because even with promotions, we're having to get buy-in from leadership, but I think that's healthy. So you guys are in good hands with the ownership here. Angie is bringing in top class help, and I'm not talking about me. The reason I'm here is because of Christy. And from an operational perspective, I was sharing this with the leaders that, man, that's why I came, because I know what Christy can do, and I've seen what Christy can do. So from an operational perspective, we're in good hands, and that's why I'm excited from a sales perspective and a field perspective. I know I can sleep at night knowing that from an operational perspective, we'll be fine. So, and from a leadership perspective, what I see is like, man, like how many leaders are on a Sunday night giving their Sunday to be trained? And I'm talking about each person that's here. Like I appreciate you guys being on this call because that tells me you guys are committed to your craft. So you'll receive the same kind of commitment from my end.
Very good. Anybody else? All right. I have two things that I'd like to ask you. And these, one is, well, I'm gonna ask the tough one first.
Okay.
But then before you answer, I'm gonna remind you of a story that you told us the other day about the single mom. And I don't know where she's from or anything about her, but you told us about a single mom who embraced something, a business of some sort. But here's the question. You're from where?
El Salvador. So it's the
Salvador.
smallest country in America. Yeah, Central America.
Would you say it's one of the poorest places in the world?
Absolutely. It's probably ranked top 6.
Okay. So did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that?
Yes.
Okay. So here this man is, and how old are you, Luis?
I'm 38.
38. Okay. So you come here tonight, you're on corporate staff at Zalise, and you started your career in 2011, which was 12 years ago. So you were 26-ish with a baby, and a wife here in the States.
Right.
And now you're on corporate staff at Zalise. But you not only on corporate staff, but you are on corporate staff because of your whatever you did to create you created something and you rose, you became a greater self. So here's the question. How do people in El Salvador afford Zalise? What do you do with the question of who can't afford this? What do you do with that?
Hey, that's a great question. I was in Thailand last year and I thought El Salvador was poor, but I went to Thailand with a company and the same question came about, and I remember doing a meeting in El Salvador in a house without doors, you know? And I remember that meeting, and there was 10 people that we were training, and not once money was an issue, you know, not once money was a concern, but it was more of what is this solving, right? What is the question that you're asking your prospect that is going to lead you to offer a solution? Because a lot of times, and I wanted to play a video, and I don't think I have time today. I love Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is my favorite restaurant. And if we're honest, the chicken sandwich is probably not the best chicken sandwich, right? But it's the service that you receive at Chick-fil-A. And really it's the training that the employees receive at Chick-fil-A. And in that training, they're taught to pay attention to people, because every person has a story, right? So when you are prospecting someone and money may be an issue, you might have not asked the right question, right? Because if you're prospecting from a product perspective and they're saying, hey, this product is so expensive, they may be saying they don't know the value of the product, they don't understand the value of the product. But if you're prospecting them from a financial perspective and money is a concern, then you have to show them how to make their money back. So, you know, Sablo, it was funny enough that if we didn't get that many questions, you know, with money, because we were prospecting properly, we were showing value in what we had, you know, and sometimes we don't show value in the answers we're giving. And from a leader perspective, the story I was sharing with them is that I saw a mom, you know, this was when I was 27. It was my first year in the industry. We had a leadership retreat. And this couple, you know, this mom with the kids, she had 2 kids at the time, couldn't make it to the retreat, right? It was a money issue. But as we asked questions, we figure out she didn't have $50 to put in the gas tank to make it to the retreat. Well, that mom, we ended up giving her a gift card for $50. She ends up making it to a retreat. She finds a couple of leaders, and now her life is turned around. But because of the questions we asked, why was money a concern, and we were able to find a solution, she was able to have success. So I think sometimes when we hear the no because of money, we stop at that, and we kind of like, oh, they can't afford it. Man, that mom couldn't afford missing that retreat, you know, and from a corporate perspective, or, you know, we'll pay someone $50 to put in a gas tank to make it to a retreat, because people can't afford to miss these Zooms. And the sad part is that there's leaders right now that are not on this Zoom because they're watching a basketball game. You know, they're helping someone, or not even helping, they're watching someone achieve their dreams, you know, instead of them fighting and chasing their own, you know. So that's what I would say to the money, you know, question or concern. It's like, man, if money's an issue, let me show you how to make it. Or if money's an issue, man, your health is worth more than $50, $60, whatever it is they can't afford.
That's great. Thank you. It's interesting that you said that. We didn't set that up and the question wasn't there, but I had some more notes here tonight that I was going to share earlier. And one of them, which I'm going to go ahead and share now, comes from an opposite place than El Salvador, or where that lady was. It actually comes from an article in the Harvard Business Review, of all places. Very opposite. And it's written by a man named Clayton Christensen. And the article of the title of the article is "How Will You Measure Your Life?" And it was talking about leadership and so forth. But it says the powerful motivator in our lives, when it boils down to it, is not money. It's the opportunity to learn, grow in responsibilities, contribute to others, and be recognized for achievement. Let me read that again. The powerful motivator in our lives isn't money. It's the opportunity to learn, to grow in responsibilities, contribute to others, and be recognized for achievements. And so if it's not about money, then it's not about money.
That's right.
And so anyway, that's one of the reasons I think so many people come maybe came for money, or they thought, or for product, or impacting others, but they stay for all these other things.
That's right.
And so we just want to get more people in the car and on the train and on the ship and on the rocket.
And we'll see more of that tomorrow.
Yeah. So
Well, Luis, as always, it's very inspirational just to get to hear you share. And we're on behalf of Team Unlimited, which is what we call ourselves, we are just so honored that you would spend Sunday evening with us. These guys show up. I mean, they're here because of you, but they're here every other Sunday when we do these calls. And that's leadership and that's influence.
That's awesome.
And they're all doing it for the people that they impact.
And again, congratulations, everyone. Listen, beyond the Freedom Call, there's some announcements tomorrow night about our jump start, about some things that are even better in June than they were in May. We've got a little sneak peek on that. Actually, everybody did. You guys did a live, and that was for the whole world, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So,
And the other announcement, I want to shout out to Christina. Christina is actually hosting. Tell us about June 22nd, Christina.
June 22nd, Hyatt Place, 5:30 to 6:30. We're going to do a training. 7 o'clock, the big meeting's going to start. We are going to be launching the new presentation that Zelise is putting together. So you guys will be able to see that presented firsthand. And we're going to have some people from other teams come in and lead this thing with us. And that's something that's never been done outside of Zelise corporate with big meetings. So we're really, really excited to bring that here in Evansville and just really expand that out. So if you haven't put that on your calendar yet, get it on there. June 22nd.
And heads up to Marcia Smith and Kristen and Cindy, and let me see who else. Let's see, Shelley and Helen. There are other communities that we need to do this live.
we might sneak one into Florida. If I can talk Lisa into going to a beach every once in a while. She doesn't like beaches.
You guys realize that when we started Zelise 6 years ago, Evansville was where I was living, and that's the epicenter. Luis, we're still trying to we're trying to pull our corporate resources in as well. We're doing everything we can, but you guys, this is going to be a fun party. We're bringing the big beast boombox, and so that we can play you our favorite song and have a lot of fun. And Ronnie, I hope you'll cross that money saving bridge from Henderson, you and Christina, and Deborah Ray, maybe you'll come over from Nashville. So we're excited about it. And we thank you guys for just being who you are.
And really that meeting in Evansville, as much as anything, it's just going to feel good to be back together again. It's going to be more than that, but it's going to feel good. I really think come with your feel good feelings on. So
yeah, come with tennis shoes. Just saying.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to say goodnight. Yep.
Yes.
Real quick question. Is there going to be blocks of rooms at the hotel?
Christina, I think so.
They told me if we can have 10, they can actually do a special rate. So if you guys are looking to get a room, please get a hold of me now so I can get a hold of them and we can start working out those details.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Awesome. Okay, guys, any last questions, comments?
All right. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Freedom Call, everybody.